Hello and welcome to the show that doesn't have a name yet. I am your host, Pannobhasa. No longer Pannobhasa Bhikkhu or Pannobhasa Mahatera, but just Pannobhasa. And sometimes I go by other names like John David Reynolds. And I am sitting here like in a ruined building out in the woods in North Carolina, like in the foothills of the, whatever the Appalachian Mountains are called in North Carolina. And I'm going to read to you from this book, the Atthika Vagga, which I translated a long time ago from Pali into English. It's the first book I ever had published, and it's one book that I'll probably never sell because it was always my intention to have it for free distribution, like the Dhamma is priceless and all that. And it contains some very ancient texts. In fact, there are some scholars who think that the Atthika Vagga is pre-Buddhist, but that the Buddhists liked it enough that they incorporated it. But personally, I think this is like what archaic, primitive Buddhism was like, and before it got transformed into a scholastic system. So the sutta I'm going to read is the Purabedha Sutta, which translates into Discourse on Before the Breakup. And it's interesting to me for a number of reasons. It's one of my favorite suttas in the entire Tipitaka. One is because it's sort of like the Tao Te Ching. It's almost like Taoism, where it has one sentence counterbalancing another sentence so that they, in a way, they neutralize each other. And that's one of the messages of the Atthika Vagga, or early Buddhism, is just pure neutrality, or just like conceptual minimalism, where you're trying not to have anything really stand out, where it's like everything is trying to be as minimalistic as possible. And so one of the ways they do it is through the philosophy, but another way in this poem, because the original is in verse, is just to have one sentence talking about one thing, and then have another sentence right after that talking about the opposite. Like he does not desire gain, he's not afraid of loss, something like that. And so that's kind of interesting, just the whole format of how it was composed. It's rather sophisticated. Also, it's one of the few discourses that says a monk, or anybody really, should not have faith. There's this one line, he is not devout, he is not impassive. And when it says he is not devout, in Pali that is na sado, which in sada or sado usually is translated as faith. So it's one of the few passages in Buddhism which just flat out says you shouldn't have faith. And then there's one other thing that I'll mention before I read the whole thing, is this one line, regarding him there is nothing to be detected, anything acquired or discarded. And this acquired or discarded is a pun that's found several times in the Atthika Vagga. And acquired and discarded are atam and niratam. So it's a pun that also means he has no self, he has no not self. So this would be a sort of a proto no-self doctrine in Buddhism, where it's not only saying that you shouldn't believe that you have a self, but you also shouldn't believe that you don't have a self. So some people might be happy about that. There's quite a few people that I've come across that really cannot stand the idea of no self in Buddhism. But without any further ado, unless I suddenly change my mind, I'm going to read the Purabedha Sutta, translated by me. Having what vision, having what morality is one said to be at peace? Tell me this, O Gautama. You are asked about the Supreme Man. With craving gone before the breaking up of life, said the Blessed One, not dependent upon former times, not to be determined in the present, he has not anything set before him. Not angry, not intimidated, not boastful, not beset with worry. A speaker of discretion, not pompous. He truly is a sage whose speech is restrained. With no attachment to the future, he does not sorrow over the past. A viewer of detachment among stimulations, he is not led into views. He is withdrawn, not a schemer, not covetous, not afraid of loss, not audacious, not beset with aversion, and not given to denigration. Not attracted to what is pleasant and not given to contemptuousness, mild and possessed of ready wit. He is not devout, he is not impassive. He does not train himself through desire of gain, and he is not upset at lack of gain. He is not opposed to craving, nor is he greedy for savory stimulations. An indifferent onlooker, always mindful, he imagines nothing in the world to be equal, nor superior, nor lower. For him there are no distinguished positions. With whom there is no sense of dependence, having understood the way, independent. With whom there is not to be found craving for existence or for non-existence, him I call at peace. One not hoping for the objects of desire, with him there are no ties to be found. He has crossed over attachment. For him there are no sons or livestock, nor field nor property to be found. Regarding him there is not to be detected anything acquired or discarded. Atta or nirata. That for which common people would criticize him, or also philosophers and holy men, he has not set that before him. Therefore he is not disturbed amid criticisms. Without greed for gain, not afraid of loss, a sage does not put forth a claim as among superiors, nor as among equals, nor as among inferiors. He does not come to conception. He is without conception. He for whom there is nothing his own in the world, and who does not sorrow over what is not there, and who does not go by philosophies, he truly is said to be at peace. And that's the end of the sutta. And I probably will be reading more suttas from the Atthakavagga because it is, I consider to be the most important document in Buddhist literature, because I consider it to be the oldest, really ancient text. It's like the largest chunk of really primitive Buddhism that still exists. And so I'll probably be reading more from this collection. And anyone who is skeptical of my interpretation can look at the original Pali. And you'll see that it is accurate. It's just that it's so old that it's pre-Theravadan. So it's really not orthodox. And so they had to come up with a commentary called the Mahanidesa, which is also included in the Tipitaka. I think it's one of the few texts of the Tipitaka that's never been translated into English because nobody bothers to read it. And the whole purpose of it is to try and reinterpret this book, the Atthakavagga, which is now a chapter of the Sutta Nipata, into something that's orthodox. And it takes all kinds of twisting and stretching and taking things out of context and so forth. So there was one other thing in here. Oh yeah, there was another interesting statement in here that I'll just bring up before I finish this little discourse. And that's the statement, he is not opposed to craving, nor is he greedy for savory stimulations. And so that's also just very unorthodox for Buddhism, where he's just neither for nor against. I mean, he's not even against badness. He's not for goodness. He's just like I was saying at the beginning, it's just a state of radical, just minimalism, just heading for pure neutrality, and really not taking a position on anything. And the he is not opposed to craving. The original Pali here is aviruddho sa cha tatnaya. And the tatna is like the cause of all suffering. It's like tatna is considered to be, according to the second noble truth, that is the cause of all suffering. But here it says flat out that a good monk is not even opposed to that, which is interesting. And the whole Atthakavagga is interesting. It's the fourth chapter of the Sutta Nipata, and I encourage anybody who really wants to understand early Buddhism, what the Buddha originally taught. I encourage anybody who wants to know that to carefully read the book, and you can find various translations of it, some better than others. My own translation of it is available on the nipapancha.org website, and it should be in the links below. And be happy.